bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Tony Hill. There's so much that takes place during the legislative session. It's sometimes hard to keep up with what has actually come out of session. We try and keep you abreast of what's happening. And joining us today is Delegate Nic Kipke from District 31. How are you?
Good to be here, Tony.
Good to see you as well, sure. I want to talk about some of the legislation that did get through the House because it affects us in different ways. The first one, a health care bill. That was a big buzz. It's a big buzz across the nation. But a tough one to tackle. What did it do?
Yeah, well, you know, so much in politics is divided between partisan lines. And I've been trying to focus my time in Annapolis to figure out ways to make government work a little bit better. And one of the ways that I've been spending my time is with healthcare issues. And I was successful in getting a pharmaceutical reform bill passed. It was signed by the governor 2 weeks ago. It was a bipartisan effort. And what it does is it changes procurement rules in a slight way that forces the companies that negotiate with pharmaceutical companies to keep the costs down. Right now, they're motivated by shareholder profits.
Sure.
And they were invented in the 1990s, these companies that manage this benefit. And unfortunately, these shareholder profits were coming ahead of the benefits to the consumer. And so we passed a bill that will prevent them from switching pharmaceutical drugs for their own profits and more for healthcare reasons and for cost savings. You know, there's a way to save costs if you negotiate between a company that makes Lipitor and a company that makes Zocor, for instance. But they weren't going with a lower price. They were going with whatever was best for their shareholders, and that's not good for consumers. And thankfully, we were able to get a bipartisan group together to change that.
It's not price fixing per se, but it still wasn't good from a financial point of view for the consumer.
Yeah, they were using rebates. They would stick with the drug. We've been able to figure out based on what rebates would come back to them, instead of looking out for the company or the state or whoever it was that employed the negotiator to get the lower price drugs. Sure. So it's going to save Maryland consumers through their pharmaceuticals somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 20, 30, 40 million dollars. We're not sure yet, but it's going to be a big chunk of money.
Well, it's always good to see bipartisan efforts to make sure that the people's interest is always heard. There's a military bill as well, and then there's also a story attached to this kind of interesting as to how this came about. Explain what it is and why you decided this was an important area to deal with.
Yeah, well, first, let me tell you, I've only been a delegate for now a year and a half, and this was probably the most sensitive thing perhaps that I'll ever deal with. A father from Severna Park called me and called the senator from my district and said, you know, my son died fighting for our country, and there's a for-profit business using my son's name to draw attention to their products. It's not a political group or some type of anti-war group. It was a for-profit company that just wanted to sell more T-shirts. And this father called the company and said, please take my son's name off of your shirts, your products, because the message that you're pushing doesn't line up with what my son believed in. And the owner of that company basically told the dad to buzz off. Wow. And it was very insulting, and of course this son gave his life fighting for our country. And so with the Attorney General's office, we were able to craft a bill that honored the First Amendment protections of the Constitution, but it prohibits companies from using the names of fallen soldiers to draw attention to their products and to gain a commercial advantage by drawing that attention. And so effective this October, they'll be prohibited from doing that, using the name of a fallen soldier, fallen Maryland soldier, without the consent of the family or the majority of their heirs.
That's fantastic, because this is something that's very a tough situation for a family to get through just because of the nature of what's going on. And when you have those other entities that are getting involved in this very private issue, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and here again, this was a bipartisan effort. The Republicans and the Democrats came together behind this, and it passed unanimously out of the House and Senate.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in and talking with us. Always good seeing you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. That is Nic Kipke, who is the delegate from District 31. And for more information on how Comcast is involved in your community, please check out On Demand and click Get Local. Thanks for watching Comcast Newsmakers. Till next time, I'm Tony Hill.